Salvia Divinorum is an extremely powerful plant. It is not something to be messed around with. If you do mess around with it, and you do indeed do not take the correct precautions, this could be you. You have been warned. What's going on, everybody? My name is Kenny tonight, and this is the Night Dimension. I hope you guys enjoyed that little intro. As you guys know, like I said, this video is a Salvia Divinorum trip sitter's guide for noobs. So basically, people who never trip sitted before, don't really know much about it. Quick introduction. What is a trip sitter? Well, a trip sitter is somebody who is sitting during a trip. It's somebody who is there and observing a trip, you know, making sure that things can stay in order internally and externally as much as possible, so that no one breaks anything, nobody gets hurt, nobody gets killed, you know, certain things like that. That's your job as a trip sitter. I think that the most important thing that you can do as a trip sitter is to understand the substance. In my opinion, that is the most important thing that you can do. During the experience, there are things and little nicks and crannies that you can hit, you know, to help people out during a trip when you're trip sitting. But the most important thing altogether that you can do is to understand the substance. So for example, Salvia Divinorum is super powerful, and it can bring you out of your body. It can bring you to simultaneous realities, overlapping realities, overlapping dimensions. It can make you feel like you're dying, you know, loss of all motor control to where you can't move. This is a very powerful plant. This is not something like so much like psilocybin or acid, where you are able to get up and move around. Salvia is very much so planting you in where you are. So like I said, it's extremely important that the trip sitter and anybody going through the experience understands fully the substance that they're getting themselves into. And so the substance that we're going to be talking about is Salvia Divinorum. As I'm going through with do's and don'ts about what to do, not to do during trip sitting, I have a video that has actually just surfaced online recently in the last couple of weeks, which shows a great example of what not to do during a Salvia Divinorum experience. Some of you may have seen this video. If not, I put a link in the description. You guys can watch the video in the middle of watching this video, or you can watch it afterwards. Either way, it is good to reference to this video because I can name off a lot of things right off the bat which you have to look out for if you are going to correctly trip sit. So I'm going to put the video up there for you, and what I first want you to notice is that if you look on the table, you can see, you know, many bottles. Obviously a bong. The bongs are probably used for marijuana. Marijuana doesn't really play that much into the experience, but alcohol will definitely have a big impact in your experience. If you see, it looks like there's liquor, there's also beer. That means that they could have been under the influence of alcohol prior to smoking salvia. That would have had a huge impact on your experience. If you think about the fact that alcohol is a depressant, it slows your brain cells to your brain. It doesn't allow you to be aware of the situation at hand. So if you combine that with something like salvia, where it's just out of this world, you can't control the situation regardless. Combining that with alcohol, definitely first don't. When using salvia or trip sitting, make sure there's no alcohol. Make sure you haven't drank any alcohol. And if you have, don't use that as an excuse to feel all brave and go all out for a salvia experience, because that's not the right way to go into this. The second thing that I'm going to bring up is that if you guys listen closely, in the very beginning, you can hear the dude in the white t-shirt say, "Where's my lighter? Where's my lighter?"
Dude, where's my lighter? Yo, you gotta throw on extra, man.
Holy fuck, where's my fucking...
Right here, man. There we go.
You know, so he's very concerned with something. He's concerned with where an object is, you know, which means already the state of the energy that they're in is very chaotic. It's very uncontrolled. So what I would recommend is that before consuming salvia in any way, make sure that you sit down as a trip sitter. Make sure you sit down with the people who are going to use salvia and meditate with them. Meditate for about 10-15 minutes just to get everybody on a similar wavelength, a similar mindset, and just a similar energy in the room. This will be a very powerful thing to be able to get you as the trip sitter or whoever's taking the substance to be more comfortable with each other. That way, if something were to go haywire, it's a little bit easier for you guys to communicate. And the reality is that communication is key for these types of experiences. You don't want to get into the middle of a dramatic experience and then need to figure out what you got to do then. It's really good that you get these things out of the way beforehand and understand what you're getting yourself into. So a little thing would be, talk to your friend and say, hey, right after you smoke the hit, you're going to lose consciousness a little bit. You're going to start to feel like you're losing consciousness. So just hand the bong right over to me. Don't even, just grab the bong from him, grab the lighter. Make sure he can lay down. Make sure that's a huge thing too. Make sure your room or wherever you're smoking it is clean, organized, and nothing can break. You see in the video that there's the table right in front of him. It's got the bottles, it's got the bong, it's got the liquor bottle. There's just stuff all over the place that could break, or you never know what's going to happen. And that's why having a trip sitter is so important, because you can avoid those types of things. If all of you are smoking, there's not one of you is going to realize, oh, let's move this table. You're just going to slide against it until you knock everything off. So it's good that somebody's there who's aware of that. They're like, oh shit, I got to move this table so they don't knock this shit over. And then I got to put them on the bed and then make sure they're laying down and then get a pillow for them. Or, just make sure that they have room to lay down and that there's nothing that they're going to break or run into or hurt themselves. And which I mean, we clearly see this in the video, that once they become completely intoxicated under the Salvia Divinorum, that they're running into stuff and falling on top of each other and bumping into each other. So just one of those things that a trip sitter could help. And that's what brings me to my most important rule. Don't smoke the extract. No, I'm just playing. If you are going to smoke the extract, make sure that not all of you smoke the extract. The point of being a trip sitter is that you're sober. You're not smoking the extract. And if you guys can see, that's one of the biggest problems. Actually, the dude who ended up jumping out the window, I think, was the third guy. He was the third one that took the hit, so if he would have not taken that hit and would have just stayed to himself, that whole entire situation could have probably been avoided. So it really comes down to, don't take the hit. If your friends are doing it, don't take the hit. Just stay where you are, stay sober, and stay aware of the situation. Or else, you might be jumping out a window. No, I'm just kidding. You guys aren't going to jump out a window. Nothing like that's going to happen. I mean, it could happen, but that's why you got to take the correct precautions. As you can see in the video, when the mom rushes in and the dude jumps out the window, it's an immediate fear. It's an immediate reaction. That's just something that you can't control during the salvia experience. Like I said, it's a super powerful plant and it controls your environment. You can see that the way that the guy's mom comes in and she's so confused with what's going on, she can't even communicate with them, and that ultimately instinctual, she knows, I have to call the cops. There's nothing I can do. I have to figure out what's going on. She doesn't know whether you guys are dying or sick. She doesn't know what's happening. So it's just very important all around. Understand what you're getting yourself into. Understand the substance, and don't put people through that. Don't put your family through that, and don't put any sort of negative through that. I mean, ultimately what's happening is that the plant is getting bashed, and that this is a recent video that just surfaced. It's not something that happened 10 years ago, even though it does resemble an experience that you might have seen 10 years ago on YouTube. It's something that we got to think about. And with all of these conversations about legalizing substances, with psilocybin and decriminalizing these things and making them more widely known, more widely used, and so people can experience the benefits, the last thing that we need is more negative videos about these types of things. Because you take that video, you take those clips, and you send them to anybody in their right mind, and they will tell you that this substance should be illegal. It should be it should be not allowed for anybody to use if you look at what it caused, you know. But the reality is it's not the substance that caused it, it's the lack of knowledge. And that's what this is all about. This is what these videos of mine have always been about. Is about bringing awareness and knowledge to the fact that Salvia Divinorum is not some evil plant. It's just extremely powerful, and that we have to understand how to use it correctly in order to not hurt ourselves or to promote a deeper negative image of these beautiful plants. Yeah, that's really it. That's really all I got for this video. If I missed any trip sitting tips, go ahead and put it down in. I kind of get bummed thinking about all this stuff, because as much good as we can do to try to better these things, there's so much work that's being done involuntarily and voluntarily to just terrorize the image of these things. And it's pretty upsetting, especially being in a position where you want to bring forth a more positive image. So that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. YouTube spiely stuff, like, comment, subscribe, dab on all the haters, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Be safe, and be a safe trip sitter. Catch you guys next time.